let's talk a little bit about compound blocks of statements. So up until now, we've only been able to execute one line of code after an if statement or an else statement. But what if we want to execute more lines of code? Well, then we need to use blocks of statements. So a block of statements is a sequence of statements enclosed in curly braces, the opening curly brace and the closing curly brace. And this is what it looks like generally in your programs. You're going to have an opening curly brace, some amount of statements, and then a closing curly brace. So this is what it would look like with if-else statements, which would be the only thing we have learned about up until this point that would use blocks of statements. So if we go back to our example from the last video, we can turn this one statement into a block of statements by adding in some curly braces. And we should always be making our statements blocks of statements inside of if statements, else statements, and later on loops and so forth, because it just makes it easier to read our code, not only for us, but others that are going to read our code later on. And it just is a cleaner way to code than to have, say, this one be in a block of statements and this one not. So let's add that to our else statement, and let's get an example of executing multiple lines of code through this. So in the case that x is greater than y, we're going to output that x minus y. So we get a positive number. But in the case of y being greater than x, remember that's what else means in this case, then we're going to output x minus y because we just want a positive number. And then we're going to return at the end. So let us save this and get a terminal. We can compile with the command g++ example.cpp -wall-pedantic. So let's do that. And then we can run, we get this nice a.out as usual, which we can run with the command // and then a.out, which you will see we get 10 is larger than 2, and then we get 10 minus 2 equals 8, because 10 is larger than 2 in this case, and 10 minus 2 is equal to 8. But if you see we switch this to 2 and this to 10, we will get, let's save that, come over here, recompile, and run it. We'll get 10 is larger than 2, and then I guess I should have switched the numbers, so let me do that, because the example won't be as good. Let's do that, 2 and 8, and you see, well, oh, let's not forget to compile and run, and then you get 8 is larger than 2, 8 minus 2 is equal to 6. That's because the 8 is held in the y, so it's going in this else statement. Otherwise, if it went in here, we would get 2 minus 8, which would be -6. So that is all you need to know about compound blocks of statements.